Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Mark A. Preston, customer growth coach, speaker, author, and podcast host. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India. Mark, in this online form, and I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about SMEs. We'll talk about how one can unlock explosive customer growth in their SMEs. But before that, let's understand a bit more about your journey, your background, Mark, so that the listeners know who they are listening to.
Well, originally, I'm a qualified mechanic and agricultural engineer, but in 2001, I had to change careers due to family health reasons, and I needed to do something I could do from anywhere. So, to cut a long story short, I spent 5 years building up a lead generation business, basically building websites. I had 120 websites and selling the leads from those websites to related businesses. And from there, I moved on and built my own agency. Then I moved on again to build a franchise network in the UK. But then I found my thing, and my passion was in education, educating marketing teams and small business owners on how to solve the challenges to push forward and achieve their own personal customer growth projections. And in a nutshell, that's the whirlwind tour. Obviously, we can get further into detail if you want, but that's the story.
That's the story. And you help a lot of SMEs change their stories or rework their stories or scale their stories. We'll come to that. So that's where I want to understand. This is the ninth day of 2025. Do you think in today's time, as you see it from where you are, do you think SMEs are in a stronger position today, or they are in a weaker position today with all these things coming in, all the challenges from the big businesses, and all the new technologies that is coming in? AI they can also use, but in terms of the overall scenario that is there, how do you see them placed in today's time?
I think there's a lot more confusion around. Obviously, everyone is throwing different strategies around and saying businesses need to do this, SMEs need to do this, but it lacks context. Like a lot of the things that get shared, there's no context to it. So they run with these strategies, use these tools without understanding if it's right for their business, because people out there are just confusing the issue because they're not giving enough context. I don't think it's more confusing nowadays. I just think it's due to lack of context, and there's so much out there. And with AI, you're not sure if anything's real anymore.
Absolutely, you're not sure. One thing I want to understand from you, Mark, is that, nowadays a lot of talk is there from everywhere, either, from experts, consultants, and everyone else talking about, small businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises and all, asking them, to grow at a very fast pace, to move at a very fast pace in a way that, as if they are losing out on something. Now, traditionally, technically, these enterprises are supposed to live their life, enjoy their life, move at their own pace, provide services and goods and manufacturing to all those people, and then live their life. Do you think these SMEs are on unnecessary pressure, undue pressure from a lot of experts, consultants around everywhere? What is your sense on this?
Well, the honest truth is these consultants are trying to push them to achieve massive things because, quite frankly, they'll earn more money themselves. And that's the honest truth. And in reality, that I've run my own small businesses for many years, so I understand the challenges surrounding scaling and growing a small business. It's not a case of, well, okay, to grow, we need to achieve lots more customers. Well, is that actually achievable? Can they actually service those customers? It's when you strip it right down, it's all right for a consultant to say, oh, well, give me, $5,000 a month and I can generate all these leads for you. But in reality, can they service them? Can they contact the leads? What quality of leads? And it's not about growing massive. It's about achieving their own individual customer growth potential. And every small business has their own potential, because not every business is in business to be a multimillionaire. They're in business to make a real positive impact to other people's lives, just like me.
Absolutely. Well explained, Mark. And that is where I want to understand for this small businesses, SMEs, is that how should they look at this growth part in terms of numbers, in terms of something else, serving customers better, providing value better? How would you like them to understand this growth part and scaling? That should be their wish, that should be their plan, and that should they should be able to think of what speed of growth that they want, rather than someone else telling them, because it can be profitable for them. Help us understand about this. How should small businesses, SMEs, look at the scaling up part, the growth part?
Well, I look at this in a slightly different way than normal people. Now, it starts realistically with the small business owner and their personal goals. What are their personal goals with their business? And once we understand that, then we can start mapping the customer growth journey out. So, depending on what their goal is, well, in order to get there, how many new customers do we need to gain over that period of time? But not unnecessarily, but what also, how many customers do we need to retain? So growth is not just about new customers. It's actually more about retaining your existing customers, because your existing customers will become, if you run your business properly, your unpaid sales force. And thing is, that will allow you to grow your business. And literally, how do you get from where you are now to where you want to be? Well, that's an individual thing, depending on budget within and resource within the business. And that's what they need to understand. And piecing it all together, but one step at a time. So instead of saying, well, this is my long-term goal, but let's split it down into quarterly goals, so it's not as overwhelming.
Right, Mark. So, how would you like to put, what are the key challenges that these small businesses, SMEs in today's time are facing, in terms of, say, growth, even if we take in terms of, by scaling their growth base, growth level, growth base, customer base, whatever way we want to put it. What are the key challenges as of today?
It's a very crowded space out there, and in honesty, people are fighting to get themselves seen out there, especially in a growth world, digital marketing world. Even in the paid area, you're at, you're limited to the exposure you can generate. So the challenges are for the I see is small businesses run with things that's not gaining any impact. I mean, they're spending money they really can't afford to spend, on things because they've read something or someone's told them something that they'll run with. But in reality, all they want to do is connect on a human level with their target customers and build those relationships. And understanding where their target customers are online is where they need to focus. Just because somebody generates loads of leads from TikTok doesn't mean that's the right strategy for you. And that's what I find. I find that the challenges small businesses are facing is they're getting so confused in today's market with what's out there, especially with AI and pumping everything out. And AI seem to be with this magic tool that will just flick a switch and it'll just happen. And that's not reality.
That's not reality. Absolutely. What do you mean by it's a very crowded space? Where is it very crowded? And by what is it crowded? Is it the bots? You see, Facebook and Meta and all these people, they are now saying they will bring bot creators. So it will be bot creators, bot audience, everything bot, just a few humans here and there. Is that the world we are looking for, creating our a business? Is that the crowded place you are talking about? And if
Yeah,
it's the real world,
yeah, especially when obviously AI come along, suddenly, ChatGPT was launched and social media posts exploded because everyone was just using AI to pump out. But in reality, is what you need to think about. Yes, it's crowded. So your job is how can I push through that crowd? And that's by being your authentic self. And I think AI has a place to streamline processes, but it shouldn't replace you. Because what makes your business successful is you and your knowledge and why you started it. And that's what needs to come across. And no AI can replicate that for one simple reason: it's in your individual head. And AI cannot, they cannot at this moment in time access your brain.
absolutely, absolutely, Mark. So you mean to say that everyone has to stick to their own authentic story, and that is the best story that they can tell about themselves, about their products, their services, about themselves. And this is the story which your potential customers will be interested in.
Well, why not? Why pretend to be something you are not? And this is the problem, is with AI, they're pretending to be something they're not. And the problem with that is people are getting more clued up as to what's authentic or not. So you have a story. It's not just sharing your story, it's about how you are the solution to your customers' problems. But if you do not understand what your customers' problems are, how do you know that you are the solution? And that's the connection. So it's not just about sharing your story. It's not about me. It's about the customers. And that's what many people fail and small businesses fail. They talk too much about themselves. Yes, you can add a personal entity into your story, but the onus needs to be on them because there's a reason they want to work with you.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mark. So you talk about sharing your story. Share where the space is too crowded, and there are many platforms also. But those platforms, state of each platform, it's very confusing. So where do I share my story? Where are my customers? How do I know? You are the host of, talk about digital podcast. You know about all things digital, about all these things. Mark, in 2025, how do I know which are the platforms that I should be sharing my story? Some people say be everywhere. Some people say be only on one or two places, but then out of one or two places, either they can throw you out or they can themselves close down, and you can be, clueless, do have no place for yourself. How do I do that?
Well, a great place to start is using an audience research tool like SparkToro. SparkToro is one of the best audience research tools I personally use. Not just myself, but get my customers to use, my clients. And
Right.
from there, actually, what you think might be the place your audience is hanging out might not be reality. So you might have spent lots of time on the wrong places. And audience research tools like that have access to millions and millions of pieces of data. So they can show you in depth, the demographics, what type of things, what interests they have, and everything. And for me, that's where you start, and that's where you understand where your customers hang out online.
Right, right, Mark. So, where did you find this uh, 1 million new customers, for UK and US businesses? What is the strategy that you adopted for this?
Well, it's for me, it's testing lots of things. When I say I've generated 1 million customers, it's working with small businesses, helping them collectively generate over 1 million customers, right? I'm not saying that I personally have over 1 million like small business customers. That would be insane. That'd be unachievable. But how do I do that? By obviously, I've been doing this since 2001. And during that time, I've tested lots of things. And I've actually wasted a lot of money finding out what doesn't work as well. And you get to a stage in time where you understand what works and what doesn't because you've tested it yourself and run with it. And it's not a formula, it's just an understanding of the reality of things. And realistically, how then I help my small business customers to achieve their customer growth potential by using all the knowledge I built up, understanding what works and what doesn't, to put a strategy in place for them.
Right, right, Mark. Let's learn from your books. You have written four business marketing books. So tell us a bit about those books so that the audience can learn from there, and also about your podcast. Talk about digital podcast. What do you talk about that? What can the audience learn from your podcast?
Well, the first two books have been written for SEO agencies and freelancers to enable them to scale their business. So that's the SEO space is where I was heavily involved before. The third book is Big Impact, Minimal Investment, and it's about digital marketing techniques that doesn't cost a fortune, that small businesses can implement cost effectively because they're spending far too much money on things that doesn't work. Now, my last book and my recent book is Customer Growth Unlocked. And that, again, is for SME, small businesses, but it's shares stories. It's like got 101 different customer growth challenges, and it's written in a story format. So this certain small business, this type of small business had this challenge, and this is how they worked out how to solve it and the impact. And that book, it's Customer Growth Unlocked. It's to make small businesses just think, I had that challenge. Now that relates to me. And this is the thing, when you strip it right back, it's not about complexities, it's about understanding and logical mindset. And my Talk About Digital podcast, again, it's for small businesses, but it's to take the complexities out of digital marketing. Because complexities, 9 times out of 10, are only there so certain people can make a lot of money, when in reality, small businesses could quite easily implement the things themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Much to learn about these things from you, Mark, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more from you, about what you do from your books as well as podcasts. What's the best way for them to connect with you, Mark?
Well, my website is markapreston.com, or just go onto LinkedIn and send me a personalized message, because it is about the personal connection. It's not just about connect. Tell me why you want to connect, and you've seen me and heard me on this show.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.